Thank you. I rise to speak on this bill because in my community, like far too many communities around Australia, housing stress is a real issue. But as the second reading amendment, which I wholeheartedly support, also makes clear, homelessness is growing in Australia and it's a real problem. Homelessness in the Frankston and Mornington Peninsula region is a problem, but in particular, and very sadly, youth homelessness is a problem. Young people, we know, are overrepresented in the Victorian homeless population, with 26% of those experiencing homelessness under 25 years of age. In my community, in the Frankston-Mornington Peninsula region, it means that approximately 220 young people are experiencing homelessness at any point in time. Young people, people aged between 15 and 24 years of age. In 2016-2017, 4,060 young people aged between 15 and 24 years of age went to specialist homeless services in the Bayside Peninsula area asking for help. And this year already, the services in my electorate, the hard-working people who are there to help those in need, have come to me and said there is a visible increase in people sleeping rough. And unfortunately, those of us who live in the wonderful Frankston and Mornington Peninsula region can see that for ourselves. Of the people that my services in my electorate are helping, those 4,060 young people aged between 15 and 24 years, almost twice as many of them were women as men. Twice as many. So these statistics are not just statistics, they are real people with real lives, with almost inevitably devastating stories. Stories like the one that I'm going to present to this chamber, to this parliament now. The name has been changed to protect people's privacy, but this is a real story in the real words of an 18-year-old girl from my electorate. My name is Sarah. I am almost 18, in Year 12, and work at a restaurant on Saturdays. I want to be a nurse. I had to leave home a couple of months ago because my stepdad was very violent and I was frightened. I went to my grandma's for a while, but she lives in a retirement village, so I wasn't allowed to stay. I moved in with a school friend and slept on her bedroom floor for a few weeks, but her parents said I had to leave. So I went to live with a guy from work, Jack, who said I could stay if I helped with the housework and walked his dog. It was okay for the first week until he started pressuring me for other things. His neighbours let me stay in their garage for a week. After that, I couldn't find anywhere else to stay, so my school counsellor brought me to the local homelessness service. There were lots of people waiting for help, and it was kinda scary. The worker was really nice, but said there were no places for me to go because all the youth refuges in the state were full. She said they couldn't put me in a motel because of my age, and I don't have enough money to rent a place, even if I could find one. I only have about $80 a week from my job because my mum won't sign the forms for me to get youth allowance from Centrelink. She says I should go back home, but she doesn't understand how scared I am of Mick, especially when he's drinking. She won't stick up for me because it's Mick's house, and I think she's scared of him too. I feel like I'm always on edge and I can't eat, study or sleep when I'm there. The housing worker called Child Protection, but they won't help me because I'm nearly 18. They're going to talk to my little brother at his school though, so maybe someone will help him. The worker said when I'm 18, they can help me apply for public housing, but the waiting list is really long. So I went back to Jack's. He works at night, so I felt okay then, but when he got home, I tried to stay out of his way, or I'd sleep in the cubby house in the neighbour's yard. They didn't know. It was cold, but it felt safer than inside Jack's house. I wasn't getting my schoolwork done, and I'm so behind. I was very anxious and depressed and felt so alone. Last week, I tried to kill myself and Jack called an ambulance. I stayed in the mental health ward for 4 days, but this afternoon they discharged me and sent me back to the homelessness service. The hospital also set me up an appointment at Headspace next week. The housing worker let me charge my phone and found a bed for me in the city. I've never been there on my own before. She gave me directions, a food voucher and a Mikey card. My school bag is still at Jack's place. I'll have to miss work this weekend because it's too far away. I have to come back on Monday so they can see if there is anything else then, because a bed in the refuge is only for the weekend. They said there aren't any youth refuges around here, so I really don't know where I'm going to end up. This is a very brave young woman who's told her story to her workers and have brought it to me so that I can bring this story to our federal parliament. These are real people that we're talking about when we talk about homelessness, when we talk about housing stress, when we talk about trying to live on $40 a day of New Start. These are real people. They are young people. They are people who have ambitions and hope and dreams, and they are people that we in this place, of all places, need to be standing up for. When a young person is homeless, as you've just heard, it disrupts their education. It makes it harder for them to find employment. Sarah wants to have a go. She's having a go. But who's helping her? You don't just get a go. As the member for Lee said in her first speech, life is not that benign. But it is our job to be here for people like Sarah, for young people like Sarah, so that she can put her dreams into reality. She doesn't need to live every day with her safety, her physical and her mental health and her general well-being at risk, but she does. And this is when we come to intergenerational disadvantage in our communities. We know that young people who are homeless are more at risk at becoming homeless when they become an adult. We need to stop the cycle of disadvantage and the cycle of homelessness. Early intervention is essential for homelessness. It's essential for people to get good educations and good jobs and be able to afford homes. We have to do more and we have to do better, and this place has to do better on behalf of the people we are here to represent. I raise these stories in my electorate today because I am here to support 10 local community and government organisations who have come together on the Frankston and Mornington Peninsula for the Youth 2 campaign for homelessness, to call for bipartisan support from government of all levels for youth crisis accommodation and transitional housing in my electorate, in my area, but I stand here for people all across Australia who are in the same situation. But I am the voice today of the Youth 2 campaign, and their call for action asks for two, in my opinion, very reasonable things: building and operational funding for 2 supported crisis accommodation facilities with 24/7 active staffing located near Frankston and Rosebud in my area, and a youth foyer connected with education providers. These additional investments will align and complement the Victorian state government's agenda on homelessness. And I know that our local state member for Frankston, Paul Edbrook, is a huge champion of these sorts of services and is working as hard as he can to bring them to our electorate, along with Sonia Kilkenny, the member for Carrum. And I applaud the state Labor government for all the work they're doing in this area. They have a homeless and rough sleeping action plan and the recommendations from the Family Violence Royal Commission, which they are working to implement. But they know, and we know, that more needs to be done. Without investment in responses to prevent homelessness, it is costing all of us dearly. According to a report published by Swinburne Institute for Social Research, the cost to the Australian economy of health services associated with young people experiencing homelessness is an average of $8,505 per person per year, or $355 million across all young people aged 15 to 24 accessing specialist homelessness services. That is an argument. That is an economic argument, but there is a moral and an ethical argument and an imperative for us to do more. So I'm standing here as a new federal member for Dunkley saying I am willing to put out my hand and work with anyone, to work with our state Labor members, the state Liberal members who are in my electorate and those opposite, to say that we have to do something so that young people like Sarah don't have to go through what she has gone through. Thank you.